The room lost focus. Marin was acutely aware that she was standing, that her heart was racing, and that her breathing was beginning to escalate to a dangerous speed. Her eyes focused on her nylon bag, and an overwhelming force compelled her to it. Many contents filled it, but Marin's adept hand knew exactly where to reach. The book, Isle of Night, her comfort, seemed to hop into her hand and out of the bag. Before Marin could think, she was huddled in the corner of her bed, opening her escape. Soon she was lost on the sea, the salt-filled air tickling her skin as she made a daring escape. She just raided a fort for bounty, defeating the corrupt General Becker's platoon alongside her handsome, swashbuckling captain, Willem Falcon. Together they laughed as they fled the eviscerated fort, allowing the winds to blow their course onto their next adventure. A loud knock jolted her. Marin's head was on a swivel, her heart racing. Was she under attack? Did General Becker give chase and hail upon them the fires of heaven? Another knock sounded.
"Blessed Wave Leaper, are you in there?"
Marin blinked several times. She was curled on her bed, a line of drool down her cheek, with her book covering her thumb. She'd fallen asleep reading. "One sec," Marin called. She scrambled to make herself presentable, then realized she slept in her clothes. Her hair was pulled into tails, still frizzy from her lack of care she'd put into it this morning. Huffing, she tried to run her brush through it again, but the frizz refused to die. "One day, you little bitch." Marin glared at her hair through a mirror. "One day." Marin opened the door. "What's up?" The receptionist, a small, twig-thin woman with straw-colored hair, smiled.
"Mr. Colbert told me to come get you. It's a little later than expected, but the supporter and autonomous bishops will be arriving in a few minutes."
Marin nodded. Then she flinched. How long has she been sleeping? Upon checking her tablet, she found it was nearly 10 o'clock.
"I've been sleeping for almost 10 hours.
Marin stretched. Man, this was the best sleep she'd had in days.
"Of course,"
Marin said.
"Lead the way."
Like before, Marin met with Colton, Julio, and Teresa in the large front room of the headquarters. Colton was twirling his mustache while he talked with Teresa, who looked like she'd aged several years since this afternoon. Julio was fidgety, tapping his foot and continually looking at his watch. Marin stood by them and waited. A minute later, someone else entered the headquarters. All three heads of CC Corp shot to the door, but it was only Mav who strolled in, looking freshly showered yet still wearing his unzipped vest and cargo shorts. He didn't glance at Marin as he settled next to her, which was fine. She didn't give him a passing glance either.
"They're here,"
the receptionist said, 10 agonizing minutes later, taking out an earpiece.
"Julie is escorting them here now."
When the doors opened again, two vastly different figures walked in. The one on the left was easily the bishop from the supporter sect. She was taller than Mav and could have been as muscular, but her thick robes of swirling various browns covered every inch of her skin below the chin. Even a sturdy hat topped her head, hiding most of her braids, but revealing her night dark skin. The autonomous bishop on the right looked every bit the part. He was so small and skinny the supporter bishop could have hurled him like a javelin, and he'd likely have flown far even without his gift. His sky blue and white robes were free-flowing and refused to cover various parts of his body, displaying his light brown skin. A very deep V cut down the front, revealing more of his tiny chest than Marin cared to see, and random cuts along its lower sides displayed much of his hips and legs, so much to the point that Marin wasn't sure if he had underwear on. "Blessed bishops," Colton said, moving towards them, rubbing his hands together. "We are so fortunate and honored that you have come so quickly at such short notice." "It's an important matter," the autonomous bishop said, swiping a strand of his long, dark hair behind his ear. "And it requires a swift resolution. After considerable thought, of course," the supporters bishop said, lowering her head to meet Colton's eye. "It's a pleasure to meet with you, my child. Were it only under better circumstances." Marin refrained from rolling her eyes. "My child?" As if Colton wasn't at least 20 years older than her. "My name is Bishop Jada from the supporters," the bishop continued. And I'm Diego, the other bishop said. Bishop Diego, I suppose. Jada took a breath, then continued. Your report, Mr. Colbert, was quite disturbing. Before we make any decisions on the matter, I would like to hear it again. Bishop Diego shot her a glance, tapping his foot. At least he was professional enough to not voice his impatience openly. Completely understandable, Colton said. From me or from the mouth of one who discovered the irate divine. Jada locked eyes with Marin and then Mav. I assumed that would be you two, holy siblings. Marin bit her tongue. Yes, sister. Marin wanted to detail their whole experience, but Jada asked Mav to explain his side of things when they'd split up, as he was the first to see the Titans. He was succinct with his story, so Marin picked it back up, first describing the cave that she'd found, and then filling in the details Mav had left out.
Though we discussed more about the matter after we gave our initial report,
Marin began her conclusion.
It's a matter requiring extreme secrecy, though. Civilians wouldn't be allowed to hear our conjecture, given an order that we are not allowed to take credit for something that recently happened.
Jada's sharp eyes narrowed. But in terms of this investigation, you feel it necessary to disclose it.
For my and my guildmates' safety, I'd rather only say it to concerned parties, which in this case is only you, Jada.
Then I suppose I shall have to take a very quick tour of the second floor, Bishop Diego said. You three, please lead the way. With some grumbling from Julio, the three civilians led the autonomous bishop upstairs. When their footsteps grew silent, Jada turned back to Marin. What is this sensitive information, sister? She said.
The cat titan, the main aggressor, looked like an adult version of the baby titan that Secco research had tortured and eventually killed, Marin said. We think it might be the baby's mother, and it is possibly acting out in anger. The details of the taken blessings were never released publicly. How would you know what it looked like, let alone what kind of titan it was? Because it died in my arms, Mav said, voice hollow and face mournful. Jada went to Mav and gripped his hands. Thank you, brother. I can tell you are a kind soul. The little blessing joined its ancestors in peace. I'd also like to ask you to tell no one we said this, Marin said. We've been ordered not to take credit for anything that happened beneath Secco. It'll cause us a lot of issues if it spread.
I understand, Jada said, and I appreciate your willingness to share despite the legal pains you might receive if this gets out. And as a supporters bishop, I've seen details of the little blessing. So, in our initial investigation of the Titan upon the mountain, I will make note of their similarity and propose the theory to Bishop Diego myself.
Thank you,
Marin said. Jada called the others back down. Once they all settled in, she addressed them. The job might be less complicated than it initially seemed, she said. It may only require us calming the Titans down, which may or may not be a simple endeavor. Sounds great, Diego said, resting his hands behind his head. Always like an easy job. Then y'all can get back to work. Colton, Diego, and Teresa beamed as if their wildest hopes were coming true. An issue remains, Jada said. The fact is, the Titans have taken up residence here. That in itself gives us cause for pause. If they've chosen here of all mountains to live, then there must be something sacred here. Likely has something to do with that cave our wondrous sister found. Meaning, Colton said, if Mount Eagle is a holy site of the Titans, we will be forced to shut down this operation, Jada said. We've poured too many credits into this for you to shut it down, Julio said. Julio, Colton yelled. Let him yell, Diego said. Doesn't stop the truth. If there's nothing particularly special here, you can resume work after we bring these Titans peace. If there is something, then it would be heretical to mine through a sacred place.
You don't want to commit heresy, do you?
The silence was only broken by Julio's heavy breathing.
Peace, child,
Jada said.
There is much we can do to help. But first, we must investigate the situation.
What will you do? Colton asked, still glaring at Julio.
We shall calm the Titans down tomorrow.
Jada glanced outside, which was dark aside from the dim lantern light.
It is too late to travel the wood and mountainside tonight. It may take several days, but if we find what we expect to find, then we shall have to discuss possible compensation distributions as well as aid to your workers in clearing this area.
But there is a chance we can still work? Teresa asked.
Of course, nothing is yet set in stone. But that's enough talking, Diego said. I'm tired, and I'm sure you are too, sister. We can handle the rest of this in the morning.
Jada nodded, then looked at Marin and Mav.
Siblings, would you honor us in being our guide to the Titan's location?
Yes, Mav said.
That is, if Colton is kind enough to give us a place to stay,
Marin said. That room's yours for however long you need, Honored Wave Leaper, Colton said. Please, stay as long as required to aid in this task.
There was a longing in his eyes, as if pleading Marin to convince the bishops to let the company mine the mountain, regardless of their findings. Don't get your hopes up, Colton, because the moment these bishops say we can go, we are out of here. Then let us break for the night and meet on the morrow, Jada said. It was lovely meeting all of you. May tomorrow bring the steadfast Titan's blessings.